The stars had always been cold and silent. But in the year 3847, they burned with anger. Admiral Doan Park stood at the observation deck of the battleship Eternal Watch. He was 58 years old. His hair had turned gray long ago. His eyes carried a weight that no metal could explain. For 30 years, he had guarded this region of space. Sector Omeganine, the Forbidden Zone. The place no one was allowed to enter. Behind him, the door opened. Captain Unicong walked in and saluted. She was 34, sharp and ambitious. She had been transferred to the blockade fleet just 3 months ago. Like everyone knew, she had questions. So many questions. "Admiral," she said, "the transmission from Earth's command just arrived. The Galactic Union has scheduled an emergency summit." Doan did not turn around. He kept looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the invisible line his fleet protected, something waited. Something hungry. "I know," he said quietly. "They want to take the sector from us." Una stepped closer. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. I have served in the fleet for 12 years. I have fought pirates. I have defended colonies. But this mission makes no sense to me." She paused. "We have 8,000 warships stationed here. That is our entire military strength. We protect nothing. There are no colonies inside Omeganine, no trade routes, no resources that we use. Why are we here?" Doan finally turned to face her. His eyes were tired but steady. "Because some doors must remain closed, Captain, and someone has to guard them." "That is not an answer, sir." "No," he agreed. "It is not." 3 days later, the emergency summit began. Representatives from 42 species gathered at the Union Council station. It was the largest meeting in a century, and at the center of the debate was humanity. High Emissary Velith of the Corvani spoke first. The Corvani were the oldest known species in the galaxy. They had lived for 12,000 years. They believed they understood everything. Velith was tall and thin, with silver skin and 4 eyes that never blinked. "For 214 years, Velith declared, humanity has blocked access to Sector Omeganine. This region contains 12% of the galaxy's navigable space. Our scans show rare minerals, habitable planets, signs of ancient technology, and yet humans refuse to let anyone enter." The council chamber filled with angry murmurs. Species that had never agreed on anything now agreed on this. Humanity was selfish. Humanity was greedy. Humanity was hiding something valuable. Human Ambassador Sung-Ho Lee sat calmly in his chair. He was 60 years old, with a kind face and gentle voice, but his words were made of steel. "The Galactic Union has the right to ask questions," he said, "and humanity has the right to remain silent. We do not claim ownership of Sector Omeganine. We claim guardianship. There is a difference." "Guardianship of what?" demanded Fleet Marshal Korath, a military leader from the insectoid Dreth species. His mandibles clicked with impatience. "Empty space? Dead worlds? You insult our intelligence, Ambassador." Sung-Ho smiled sadly. "I wish I could tell you the truth, Marshal, but the truth would not help you. It would only bring fear. Then let us see for ourselves," shouted a delegate from the Venari Collective. "Remove your ships. Open the sector." The chamber erupted in agreement. Hundreds of voices called for action. Sun-Ho waited until they grew quiet again. "If you enter Sector Omeganine," he said slowly, "we cannot guarantee your survival. We cannot guarantee our survival. And we cannot guarantee the survival of anyone in this galaxy." He stood up. "This is not a threat. This is a warning. Some things are better left unknown." He walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the shouting continued. The vote came 2 days later. 39 species voted in favor of military action. 3 abstained. None voted against. The Galactic Union authorized a joint fleet to breach the human blockade. On the Eternal Watch, Admiral Doan received the news in silence. Captain Una stood beside him, watching his face for any reaction. There was none. They are sending 2,000 warships, Una reported. 12 species have contributed forces. Fleet Marshal Korath will lead them. They will arrive at our border in 3 months. Doan nodded slowly. Then he pressed a button on his console. His voice echoed through every human ship and station in the sector.
What?
Are to evacuate immediately. All non-combat vessels will withdraw to safe distance. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Una stared at him. Sir, what are you doing? Preparing for the worst, he said. He turned to face her fully. Captain, you have asked me many times why we are here. I have never answered. But now you need to know. He walked to his private office. Una followed. Inside, he activated a sealed file that required his DNA voice and retinal scan to open. A holographic display appeared. It showed images that made Una's blood run cold. Ships. Thousands of ships. But they were not destroyed. They were twisted, bent, folded into impossible shapes. And the people inside them were still visible, frozen in silent screams. Their bodies were stretched across dimensions that should not exist. What is this? Una whispered. 214 years ago, Doan said, humanity discovered Sector Omeganine. We sent colony ships. Research vessels. Millions of hopeful people looking for new homes. They found something else. He changed the image. Now there was only darkness. But the darkness moved. It breathed. We call it the Hollow, Dohan continued. It is not alive in any way we understand. It is not dead either. It exists between states, and it feeds on one thing only. He looked at Una, conscious thought. The more minds gathered in one place, the faster it wakes. The faster it hungers. Una could not speak. Her hands were shaking. We lost 4 million people in the first contact, Doan said. They did not die, Captain. They were absorbed, consumed, erased from existence while still aware. We have been fighting this thing ever since, containing it, keeping it asleep. Why didn't you tell the galaxy? Una finally managed to ask, would they have believed us? Doan replied. Or would they have done exactly what they are doing now? Sending a fleet, gathering thousands of curious minds in one place, ringing the dinner bell? He closed the file and turned back to the window. The coalition fleet will arrive in 3 months, he said. 2,000 ships. Millions of crew members. All of them thinking. All of them wondering. All of them broadcasting their consciousness into the void. He placed his hand on the cold glass. And somewhere in that darkness, Captain, something very old and very hungry is beginning to stir. 3 months passed like a slow funeral march. Captain Unicong had not slept well since that night in the Admiral's office. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those images. The twisted ships, the frozen screams, the darkness that moved like it was breathing. She understood now why the veterans on this fleet never smiled. They knew what waited on the other side. The coalition fleet arrived on schedule. 2,000 warships from 12 different species. Their hulls gleamed with confidence. Their weapons hummed with power. Fleet Marshal Korath led them aboard his flagship, the Crimson Mandate. He had fought 40 wars in his lifetime. He had never lost. But when his fleet dropped out of hyperspace and saw what waited for them, even Korath felt something cold in his chest. The human blockade was not a small garrison. It was a wall of steel stretching across the void. 8,000 warships, battleships, carriers, destroyers, cruisers. Every class of military vessel that humanity possessed was here. The entire United Earth fleet had gathered at this single point in space. Possible, Korath whispered. His 4 compound eyes scanned the tactical display again and again. They brought everything. Their colonies are undefended. Their trade routes are exposed. Why would they sacrifice their entire military for empty space? His second-in-command, a young Dreth officer named Vekris, spoke carefully. Perhaps the space is not empty, Marshal. Quaddith dismissed this with a sharp click of his mandibles. Propaganda. Fear tactics. The humans are bluffing. They want us to turn back without a fight. But deep in his warrior's heart, a small voice asked a question he did not want to hear. What if they are not bluffing? Admiral Doan Park watched the Coalition fleet from his command deck. His face showed nothing. Beside him stood Commander Jiho Beek, a 40-year-old intelligence officer who had spent his entire career studying. Sector Omeganine, Jiho knew things that gave him nightmares. Things that made him drink too much at night. Things that made him wonder if death might be a mercy. They are holding position at the border, Jiho reported. No aggressive movement yet. Doan nodded. Open a channel. Broadcast on all frequencies. The communication officer complied. Doan's voice reached every ship in both fleets. This is Admiral Doan Park of the United Earth Fleet. To all Coalition vessels, I speak not as your enemy, but as your guardian. You do not understand why we are here. You believe we are greedy? You believe we are hiding treasures? I wish that were true. Paused. His next words came slowly, heavy with grief. Behind us lies something that has no mercy. No negotiation. No fear. It does not want your resources. It does not want your planets. It wants your minds, your thoughts, your very existence. We have held this line for 214 years? We have lost millions of our people, not in battle. In silence, they were taken from us without a sound. The bridge was completely quiet. Every officer listened. Turn back, Doan continued. Please, I am begging you. Do not make their sacrifice meaningless. Do not wake what sleeps in that darkness. The channel closed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Fleet Marshal Korth's response came through. Admiral Park, I respect your service, but I do not respect lies. The Galactic Union has authorized this action. We will proceed. Stand aside, or we will move through you. Doan closed his eyes. Very well, Marshal. May your gods forgive us both. The standoff began. For 6 hours, neither fleet moved. Tension filled every bridge, every corridor, every heart. Then it happened. A small Corvani scout ship, eager to prove itself, broke formation. It accelerated toward the blockade line, weaving between the massive human warships. Scout vessel, return to formation immediately, Korth commanded. But the young pilot did not listen. He wanted glory. He wanted to be the first to discover humanity's secret. Human interceptors moved to block him. Weapons locked. Warning shots fired. The scout ship dodged and rolled with desperate skill. In the chaos, it found a gap. A tiny opening between two human destroyers. It shot through like an arrow, and then it was gone. Inside Sector Omega-9, on the Eternal Watch, Commander Jiho's face turned white. He tracked the scout ship's trajectory on his console. His hands began to shake. Admiral, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. The scout. It's heading toward the core region. Toward the primary dormancy zone. Doan gripped the edge of his command console. How long until it reaches deep space? 20 minutes. Maybe less. Captain Yuna stepped forward. What happens when it gets there? Jiho could not look at her. He stared at the floor. The hollow responds to conscious thought. It has been dormant because we maintain silence zones. Dead space, where no thinking beings travel. But that scout ship. The pilot's mind is broadcasting like a beacon. Fear, excitement, curiosity, all of it pouring into the void. He finally looked up. His eyes were filled with terror. He is going to wake it up. Deep within Sector Omeganine, aboard the research vessel's silent vigil, Dr. Hannah Yoon felt the change before her instruments detected it. She had studied the hollow for 15 years. She knew its moods, its rhythms, its hunger. She was alone in her laboratory when the first tremor passed through the ship. Not a physical tremor. Something deeper. Something that touched her mind like cold fingers. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She ran to her sensor array. The readings made her stomach turn. The hollow was stirring. After 2 centuries of enforced sleep, something had disturbed its rest. Something small and afraid and very, very loud. She activated the emergency broadcast. "This is Dr. Hannah Yoon aboard the Silent Vigil. Priority Alpha transmission to all Earth fleet vessels. The containment is failing. I repeat, the containment is failing. It is waking up." Back at the border, both fleets heard her message. The humans understood immediately. The Coalition did not. "What is she talking about?" Korath demanded. "What containment? What is waking up?" Admiral Doan turned to face the viewscreen. Somewhere in the darkness of Omeganine, something ancient was opening its eyes, and it was hungry. "Marshal Korath," he said slowly. "In approximately 19 minutes, your scout pilot will reach the core region. He will not survive. But that is not what concerns me. Then what does? When the hollow takes him, it will taste his thoughts, his memories, his knowledge." Doan's voice dropped to a terrible whisper. "And it will learn that there are millions more minds waiting just outside its domain. 2 fleets, countless crew members, all of them thinking, all of them afraid." He met Korath's eyes through the screen. "It will come for all of us, Marshal. And it will not stop until every conscious being in this sector has been consumed." In the deep silence of Omeganine, the Corvani scout ship sent its final transmission. The pilot was screaming, but the words made no sense. They were not his words anymore. "Thank you," the voice said through his mouth. "We were so hungry. And now there is a feast waiting." The hollow began to move. 72 hours had passed since the scout ship vanished into the darkness. Both fleets remained frozen at the border. The Coalition had stopped its advance. No one spoke of pushing forward anymore. No one spoke of anything at all. Fear had replaced arrogance. Silence had replaced demands. Fleet Marshal Korath stood alone on his command deck, staring at the sensor readings. The Corvani scout ship had gone silent immediately after entering deep space. Its last transmission still echoed in his mind. That voice, those words. They did not belong to the young pilot. Something else had spoken through him. "Marshal," his communication officer reported, "we are detecting unusual readings from Sector Omeganine. Something is moving in the core region. Show me." The tactical display shifted. At first, Korath saw nothing unusual. Just empty space, dead stars, forgotten worlds. Then he noticed the darkness between the stars. It was not staying still anymore. It was spreading. Slowly, steadily, like ink bleeding through water. "What am I looking at?" he asked. No one answered. No one knew. On the Eternal Watch, Admiral Doan made a decision he had hoped to avoid. He ordered a shuttle prepared. Under a flag of peace, he would board the Coalition flagship. It was time to show them the truth. All of it. Captain Yuna insisted on joining him. So did Commander Jiho. They arrived on the Crimson Mandate within the hour. Coalition soldiers escorted them to the command deck. Every alien they passed stared at them with suspicion, some with hatred. But Doan noticed something else in their eyes now. Doubt. Korath waited for them with High Emissary Veleth at his side. The old Corvani leader looked troubled. For the first time in centuries, he did not look confident. "Admiral Park," Korath said. "You asked for this meeting? Speak." Doan nodded slowly. "I have come to show you what we have been hiding. Not resources. Not technology. Not wealth." He activated a portable holographic projector. The footage began to play. It was 214 years old, but the horror was timeless. Human colony ships. Dozens of them. They were approaching a beautiful blue planet in Sector Omeganine. Families were aboard. Children, scientists, farmers, dreamers. They had traveled for years to reach this new home. Their radio chatter was filled with hope and excitement. Then the darkness came. It did not attack like a weapon. It did not explode or burn. It simply arrived. One moment there was empty space between the ships. The next moment there was something else. something that made no sense to the eye. A void that was somehow alive. A hunger that had form. The first ship touched the edge of the darkness. It did not shatter or melt. It twisted. The metal bent in directions that should not exist. The hull folded inward and outward at the same time. And the people inside. They were still visible. Still moving. Still screaming, but their screams had no sound. Their mouths opened into infinity. Their eyes saw nothing and everything. One by one. The ships were taken, consumed, absorbed. The entire colony fleet vanished in less than an hour. 4 million people. Gone. Not dead. Something worse than dead. The footage ended. The command deck was completely silent. Korith's mandibles hung open. Velith's 4 eyes were wide with horror. Several coalition officers had turned away. Some were trembling. "We call it the Hollow," Dohan said quietly. "We do not know what it is. We do not know where it came from. We only know what it does. It feeds on conscious thought. The more minds present, the faster it grows. The faster it hungers." He changed the display. Now it showed human research data. Charts, graphs, theories. For 214 years, we have been fighting it. Containing it, we developed technology that creates zones of null thought. Empty regions where no thinking being travels. These zones keep the Hollow dormant, asleep. But it is not destroyed. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be silenced. Commander Jiho spoke next. His voice was heavy with grief. 47 million human soldiers have died maintaining this blockade. 12 million civilians lost in containment failures. We rotate crews every 2 years because longer exposure leads to dissolution. The Hollow begins to eat their thoughts even from a distance. We tell their families they died in training accidents. Doan added. We give them medals and empty coffins. We never speak of the truth, because the truth would cause panic. And panic is exactly what the Hollow wants. Fear is a feast to it. Velith finally found his voice. It was shaking. Why did you not tell us? Why suffer alone? Would you have believed us? Doan replied. Or would you have done exactly what you did? Accuse us of lying. Send a fleet to investigate. Gather millions of curious minds at the border of its domain. He shook his head. We tried to warn you, emissary. You called it propaganda. The door to the command deck opened. A young officer entered with an elderly woman beside him. She was small and frail, with white hair and ancient eyes. But she walked with the strength of someone who had survived something impossible. This is Lieutenant Myra Shin, Doan said. She was aboard one of those colony ships 214 years ago. She is the only survivor. Mira stepped forward. Her voice was soft but steady. I was 29 years old when we entered Sector Omega 9. I had a husband, a daughter. We were going to start a new life on a new world. She paused. I watched them get taken. My husband first, then my daughter. They did not die quickly. The Hollow stretched them across time and space. I saw them screaming for hours, days, weeks. Their bodies were twisted, but their minds were still aware, still feeling everything. She looked at each alien face in the room. I survived because I was near the engine room when it happened. The radiation interfered with the Hollow's reach. I drifted for 3 days until a rescue ship found me. They put me in cryosleep because I could not stop screaming. I woke up last year to help with research, but every night I still see their faces. My husband, my daughter, still trapped in that darkness, still suffering. Korith's voice was barely a whisper. How do we fight it? You cannot fight it, Mira said simply. You can only keep it asleep. And your scout ship just woke it up. As if to confirm her words, Dr. Hannah Yoon's voice came through the emergency channel. Her transmission was fragmented. Afraid. This is the silent vigil. The Hollow is moving toward the border. It has grown since the breach. It is bigger than we have ever seen. All monitoring stations evacuate immediately. It will reach the border in approximately 48 hours.
Hours?
Marshal, we are no longer enemies. We are all prey now. The question is whether we die fighting or die running. Koroth stood straighter. His fear was still there, but something else was rising. Pride, duty, the instinct of a warrior facing his final battle. We stand together, he said. Tell us what we must do. On the research vessel's silent vigil, Dr. Hannah stared at her readings with growing dread. The hollow was not just moving, it was accelerating. It could taste the minds at the border. Millions of thoughts, millions of fears. A feast beyond anything it had experienced in millennia, and it was very, very hungry. The Corvani scout ship returned on the second day. Every sensor in both fleets detected it at the same moment. The small vessel drifted out of the darkness of Omeganine like a ghost. Its engines were dead. Its lights were dark. But somehow it was moving toward the border. Something was pulling it, or pushing it, or controlling it. All ships, weapons hold, Admiral Doan commanded. Do not fire. Do not approach. Observe only. The scout ship stopped exactly at the borderline. It hung there in perfect stillness. Then its communication array activated. A voice came through. It was the voice of the young Corvani pilot. But it was not him anymore. We are grateful. The words were flat, empty, like someone reading from a script they did not understand. So many new minds, so many new thoughts to taste. We have been sleeping for so long, dreaming of silence. But now we hear you, all of you. Your fears are delicious. Your hopes are sweet. We want more. High Emissary Velith stepped forward on the Coalition command deck. His silver face had turned pale. Pilot Saroth, he said, this is High Emissary Velith. Can you hear me? Are you still there? The voice laughed. It was a terrible sound, like glass breaking in slow motion. Sarath is here. Sarath is everywhere. Sarath is us now. We wear his memories like clothing. We taste his love for his family, his fear of failure, his dreams of glory. The voice became softer, hungrier. We want to wear you too, Velith. We want to taste your ancient thoughts. 12,000 years of memories. 12,000 years of wisdom. You will be satisfying. Veloth stumbled backward. His 4 eyes were wide with horror. On the Eternal Watch, Commander Jiho was analyzing the scout ship's readings. His face grew more troubled with every passing second. Admiral, he reported. The pilot. His body is still alive. His heart is beating. His brain is active. But his neural patterns are wrong. They are not his anymore. Something else is using his body like a puppet. Can we save him? Captain Yuna asked. Jiho shook his head slowly. He is already gone. His consciousness has been absorbed. What remains is just an echo. A recording. The hollow keeps parts of its victims alive to use as ass messengers. As bait, the voice from the scout ship spoke again. You have built such wonderful ships. So many weapons. So much power. But you cannot fight us. You cannot kill us. We are not alive. We are not dead. We are the space between. The pause between heartbeats. The silence between thoughts. We have always been here. We will always be here. And soon, you will be part of us. The scout ship's hull began to twist. Slowly at first, then faster. The metal bent in impossible directions. The young pilot's body was visible through the cracking viewports. He was smiling. He was crying. He was screaming without sound. Then the ship folded inward and vanished. Gone. Erased from existence. Both fleets were frozen in shock. For a long moment no one spoke. No one moved. No one breathed. Then High Emissary Velith did something no one expected. He fell to his knees. His ancient body trembled. His voice cracked. We knew, he whispered. The Corvani. We knew. Admiral Doan turned to face him. What do you mean? Velith looked up with shame in his eyes. 12,000 years ago, there were other species in this galaxy. Older than us. Wiser than us. The elder races, 17 great civilizations, They built wonders we cannot imagine. They explored regions we never dared to enter. He paused. Then they disappeared. All of them. In a single century, we thought they ascended to a higher plane. We told ourselves beautiful lies. But we knew the truth. We always knew. He stood slowly. His legs were weak. They entered Secto-Omeganine. They woke the hollow. And it consumed them. All of them. 17 civilizations. Billions of souls. Gone. His voice dropped to a whisper. We Corvani survived because we ran. We fled to the outer regions and hid. We sealed the records of the elder races. We erased their names from history. We pretended they never existed. Because we were ashamed. We were cowards. The revelation hit the Coalition like a wave. The Corvani, the oldest and proudest species in the galaxy, had hidden the truth for 12 millennia. They had let humanity suffer alone for 2 centuries. They had accused humans of greed while knowing exactly what lurked in that darkness. Fleet. Marshal Korath approached Doan. His mandibles clicked softly. His compound eyes were filled with something new. Respect, Admiral Park, he said. How many of your people have died holding this line? Doan met his gaze without flinching. 47 million soldiers. 12 million civilians. We rotate crews every 2 years because longer exposure causes mental dissolution. The hollow begins to eat their thoughts from a distance. Slowly, painfully. We tell their families they died in training accidents. We give them heroes' funerals with empty coffins. We never speak the truth because the truth would cause panic. And panic feeds the hollow. Korath bowed his head. We accused you of arrogance. We called you selfish. We threatened war. He looked up again. We were the arrogant ones. Forgive us. There is nothing to forgive, Doan said quietly. You did not know, and now you do. Captain Yuna stepped forward. Her eyes were burning with anger and grief. Admiral, we have been dying in silence for over 200 years. Our families never knew where their children went. Our people never understood why we sacrificed everything. Why? Why didn't we tell the galaxy? Why suffer alone? Doan turned to face her. His voice was gentle but firm, because telling them would not have helped. They would have investigated. They would have sent ships to explore. They would have done exactly what they did. He gestured at the Coalition fleet. Humans are young in this galaxy. We have no ancient wisdom, no great reputation. If we had claimed there was a monster in the darkness, they would have laughed at us. They would have called us primitive, superstitious, afraid. Looked at Velith. So we protected them anyway, without thanks, without understanding, without glory, because that is what guardians do. Dr. Hannah Yoon's voice broke through the silence. Her transmission was urgent, afraid. All ships, this is the silent vigil. The hollow has reached the outer containment zone. It is much larger than our models predicted. It has absorbed the scout ship's knowledge. It knows how many ships are here. It knows how many mines are waiting. It is coming faster now. Much faster. How long? Doan asked.
Hours.
Maybe less. The Admiral closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were filled with cold determination. Then we have 24 hours to find a way to stop it, or everyone at this border dies. And after us, everyone in this galaxy. The darkness of Omeganine pulsed. The hollow was coming, and it was hungrier than it had been in 12,000 years. The War Council met in the Great Hall of the Coalition, flagship. For the first time in galactic history, human admirals stood side by side with alien commanders. Fear had erased all differences. Survival had created unity. Fleet Marshal Korath, formally, transferred tactical command to Admiral Doan Park. The other coalition leaders agreed without argument. The humans had fought this enemy for 2 centuries. They knew its patterns, its weaknesses. If any weaknesses existed at all. We cannot destroy the hollow, Doan began. Every weapon we have tried has failed. Energy beams pass through it. Missiles vanish inside it. Nuclear warheads only make it grow faster. It does not matter. It is not energy. It is something else. Something our science cannot explain. Then how have you contained it for so long? Korath asked. Dr. Hannah Yoon answered through the communication channel. She was still aboard the Silent Vigil, deep within Omeganine, monitoring the Hollow's advance. We developed no-thought technology, she explained. Special devices that create zones of mental silence. No conscious thoughts can exist within these zones. Without thoughts to feed on, the Hollow becomes dormant. It sleeps, but it never dies. And now that it is fully awake, our null zones are not strong enough to stop it. It is too large, too hungry, High Emissary. Veleth spoke with trembling voice. Is there nothing we can do? Hannah paused. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with reluctance. There is one possibility. We have been developing a weapon in secret. We call it the Silence Bomb. It is a concentrated null-thought device. It's 1,000 times more powerful than anything we have used before. In theory, it could force the Hollow back into dormancy for centuries, maybe millennia. Then use it, Korath demanded. Deploy it immediately. It is not that simple, Marshal. Hannah's voice cracked. The Silence Bomb requires an anchor, a living consciousness to stabilize the null field until detonation. Someone must carry it into the core of the Hollow and activate it manually. That person will be erased. Not killed, erased. Their consciousness will be scattered across dimensions. They will cease to exist in any meaningful way, forever. The War Council fell silent. Admiral Doan stepped forward. His face was calm, resolved. I will do it. No. Captain Yuna's voice cut through the silence. Sir, with respect, you are needed here. The fleet needs your experience. The fleet will survive without me, Doan replied. I have spent 30 years watching good people disappear into that darkness. Let me be the last. Commander Jeho stood up. I will go instead. My knowledge of the Hollow makes me the logical choice. I can ensure the detonation is precise. Neither of you will go. The voice came from the doorway. Lieutenant Myra Shin walked slowly into the council chamber. She was old and frail, but her eyes burned with something fierce. Something final. I died 214 years ago, she said quietly. When the Hollow took my husband and my daughter, it took part of me too. I have been living as a ghost ever since. A witness. A survivor, but never truly alive. She looked at Admiral Doan. Let me finish this. Let me join my family. Let me finally stop seeing their faces in my dreams. Doan met her gaze. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to protect her, but he saw the truth in her eyes. This was not a sacrifice. This was a homecoming. Very well, Lieutenant, he said softly. The mission is yours. Veleth activated a galaxy-wide broadcast. His message reached every species, every world, every ship in the Galactic Union. His ancient voice carried shame and wonder. Citizens of the galaxy, he said, I speak to you now with truth that should have been told long ago. For over 2 centuries, humanity has guarded the darkness of Sector Omeganine. They have sacrificed millions of their children to protect us from a threat we denied existed. We accused them of greed. We threatened them with war. We were wrong. They are not our enemies. They are our guardians. And today, they will save us all. Remember this moment. Remember what humanity gave for a galaxy that never thanked them. The broadcast ended. Across 1,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size stood in silence. Some wept, some prayed. All of them understood. The final battle began. 10,000 ships from both fleets advanced toward the Hollow's edge. Their mission was simple. Create a distraction. Draw its attention. Open a path for a single vessel to reach its core. The final dawn was a small ship. Fast and maneuverable. Lieutenant Myra sat alone in its cockpit, the silence bomb secured behind her. Her hands did not shake. Her heart did not race. She was ready. All ships engage. Admiral Doan commanded. The combined fleet opened fire. Thousands of weapons lit up the darkness. Energy beams, missiles, torpedoes, everything they had. The Hollow responded with terrible hunger. Tendrils of darkness reached out and touched the nearest ships. Those vessels twisted and folded, their crews consumed in silent screams. But the fleet did not retreat. They pushed forward. They died forward. Every lost ship bought the final dawn, another precious second. "Lieutenant Mira, you are clear for approach," Una reported. "The path is open. Good luck." Mira activated her engines. The final dawn shot forward, weaving through the chaos of battle. Diving into the hungry darkness ahead, inside the hollow, reality became meaningless. Space bent in directions that had no names. Time moved forward and backward at once. Mira felt it touching her mind. Tasting her memories? She saw her husband smiling on their wedding day. She saw her daughter taking her first steps. She saw them being taken, twisted, absorbed. "I remember you," she whispered. "All 4 million of you. I never forgot. I never stopped fighting." The core of the hollow was ahead, a point of absolute darkness. The center of its hunger, Myra activated the silence bomb. The device began to hum with power. She felt her consciousness starting to unravel, her memories scattering like leaves in the wind. She opened a final transmission. Her voice reached every ship in the fleet. "Tell the galaxy we never forgot. Tell them we never stopped fighting. And tell them we never will." She pressed the detonation button. Light exploded from the core. Not physical light. Something purer. Something that existed beyond matter and energy. The null field expanded outward in all directions. The hollow screamed. A sound that was not sound. A cry that echoed through minds instead of air. And then it collapsed. Folding inward, shrinking, retreating to its ancient slumber. The darkness receded. The hungry void grew still. Mira Shin was gone. Erased. Her consciousness scattered across dimensions beyond counting. But in the last moment, before she vanished, she saw them. Her husband. Her daughter. Waiting for her in a place without time. She smiled. The battle was over in the aftermath. The Galactic Union established a new Memorial Day. They called it the Day of Silence. Every year on the anniversary of the battle, all species observed 1 minute of complete quiet. No communication. No telepathy. No thoughts broadcast into the void. 1 minute of silence for the humans who had guarded the dark. The blockade remained at Secto Omeganine, but now it was staffed by ships from every species. Humans no longer stood alone. Above the central station, a monument was erected. Its words were carved in 100 languages. "Here stand the guardians of thought. We do not hold this line for glory. We hold it because some things must never be awakened. Humanity showed us the way. Now we walk it together." Admiral Doan Park retired 6 months later. He had given enough. He had lost enough. He spent his remaining years on a quiet planet, watching the stars and remembering all the faces he had seen vanish into darkness. Captain Una Kong took command of the border fleet. She was the youngest admiral in human history. On her first day in the command chair, she looked out at the stars of Omeganine. The darkness was still there, waiting, dreaming, but it was no longer hungry. "Not yet. Rest easy, Lieutenant," she whispered. "We will take it from here." Behind her, the fleet held formation. Humans and aliens together. Guardians united. The galaxy had finally learned the truth, and the truth had set them free. The stars were cold and silent, but for the first time in 200 years, humanity did not stand in that silence alone.